All right, so let's continue and let's talk about again the importance of this molecule called nitric oxide and how some other factors can have an influence on it as well. So we know that in addition to nasal breathing and exercise, which can both activate nitric oxide synthesis, diet also plays a role. And John Downs noted that things like beetroot juice is actually great to stimulate nitric oxide production, dilate blood vessels, and reduce blood pressure. A study at the University of Exeter showed that beetroot juice can reduce the amount of oxygen that's needed during exercise, and cyclists who drank more of this juice were able to cycle 16% longer before getting tired than those who drank water alone. So beet juice, by stimulating nitric oxide, increasing blood flow, and reducing fatigue, allowing cyclists to last longer during a race before fatiguing. Other sources are things like fish, green veggies, dark chocolate, green tea, and even oatmeal porridges as well. So, and as well, supplementing with things like L-arginine can also help. Now, as we mentioned, exhaling all the carbon dioxide actually causes an increase in heart rate and heart palpitations, shown by Yandell Handerson, who investigated the relationship between heart rate and blood carbon dioxide. So heart rate actually increases when you fully exhale all that CO2. Common slow nasal breathing helps to increase CO2 levels and cause a drop in resting heart rate. So by not exhaling all of it and by maintaining that carbon dioxide level, you're actually able to reduce that heart rate and prevent the palpitations from occurring. It may be that reduced CO2 leads to poorer heart oxygenation, and it can lead to less blood flow to the heart, for example. And so you get less oxygenation than you would otherwise. Also, a higher breathing volume was actually associated with more severe incidence of heart failure. So for people who had heart failure, the more severe cases were actually due to people who were mouth breathers or who had a higher breathing volume. And higher breathing during resuscitation actually also lowers the survival rates by negatively impacting blood flow again to the heart, so it's not as oxygenized. Now, a study in the University of Patras in Greece actually showed various things on an ECG, like abnormal results like ST depressions and T-wave inversions, when participants actually hyperventilated at 30 breaths at a minute of a period of 5 minutes. So even that was enough to cause worse results on an ECG. And so you can imagine that high intensity activity, when the breathing can be even higher, of course that can cause a problem. And stress and high workload can also cause things like arrhythmia. And it's a mistake that you need to breathe more to get more air, as it will actually make you breathless by fully removing all that CO2, and can also cause worse results on an ECG. So it's the hyperventilation that can cause cardiac problems, is what Patrick McGowan suggests. And Penny, which is one of his clients, was able to reduce her breathing by applying resistance to her belly to breathe lightly and only breathe via the nose and all that. So applying all the strategies like light nasal breathing and and reduced breathing, and she increased her pulse score to 25 seconds. Her arrhythmia symptoms decreased, and a study in the Journal of Cardiovascular Prevention and Rehab actually showed that most people that had a heart attack had an excessive breathing volume, and they were treated to have a 50% reduction in breathing volume, as it has been shown to reduce cardiac dysfunction and improve respiratory function. So you can improve that breathing, you can improve blood flow by stimulating nitric oxide and get all those benefits via nasal breathing. And by maintaining that CO2 level, you're actually able to improve cardiac function and prevent cardiovascular disease, as well as improve your breathing as well, and prevent things like an elevated heart rate and arrhythmia as well. And so, and remember, it's not only nasal breathing that can increase that nitric oxide. Moderate exercise like a brisk walk can as well as eating a diet that's rich in foods that increase nitric oxide levels.